Amanda Stoker is the Assistant Minister for Women. She joins us now. Thanks so much for your time, Minister. If sexual harassment is going to now be a sackable offence, how is sexual harassment defined in law?
Hi, Laura. Thank you for having me on the program. One of the challenges that was identified by Commissioner Jenkins in the Repect Work report is that there are different definitions in different places. And so one of the things we've committed to today is to establishing a single, consistent definition across all of the different laws and policies of government, and then communicating that consistent definition through better education and training resources to employers and employees. Because the very inconsistency in having a number of different definitions available at present is posing a barrier to people being able to know their rights and, as employers, do the right thing.
Well, how should it be defined in your view?
Look, I'm not sure that it's especially productive to go through a drafting process on television other than to say it needs to be a meaningful protection to make sure everybody, it's usually women, but it's able to be both men and women who are victims of this kind of behaviour, are able to be safe at work. Because if they're not safe at work, they're not able to go about their work, they're not able to be productive, and that affects particularly the economic security of women. Safety is the first priority. And so we are prepared to craft a definition consistent across all legislation that means that fundamental safety, that is the building block for productivity, is assured.
Yep, safety is the first priority, but are you alive to the risk that this definition and where you'd land on it might see that balance not weighed up properly? How alive are you to that issue, given the Prime Minister just said that in many cases we're dealing with unconscious behaviour? So I think what you're saying is that any definition really needs to come in line with some kind of education campaign. Is that right?
Absolutely, and you'll notice that the report has, let's say, a few themes in the way that it approaches this problem. The first is a research and data collection component that's all about making sure we really understand what's going on in Australian workplaces so that the policies we build are based on the best possible evidence so we know they're going to work. But the next phase, or the next limb of the approach to dealing with this problem is all about prevention. And that means education. That means government putting their heads together, using the independent and in-government agencies to produce resources that can be used by everybody from school age through to being employees, through to being employers, to make sure they really understand what is and isn't on as far as behaviour goes, and what's the right thing to do when something goes wrong. What's the right thing to do when someone comes forward with a complaint? So education is a big part of it too. And then, of course, there's the additional limb of what do we do when what we very much want to prevent happens, and how do we make sure that there is justice in those circumstances? So you're absolutely right to say education, training, resources for understanding are a big part of this.
And might that be very different for different genders? Because the Prime Minister started that mini conference by saying, yes, he accepts all 55 recommendations, but he did note that 39% of women and 26% of men have experienced sexual harassment. So could that manifest itself in different ways, depending if you are a man or a woman?
Look, I'm sure every circumstance is different. The facts of every case are unique, but there is value in everybody, men and women, trying to understand where one another is coming from and coming together to understand each other rather than dividing this up and, in a sense, sort of splitting one gender against another. We'll tackle this best when we work together.
Why is it important that it is tackled together? I thought it was surprising, and it might be surprising to many, that 26% of men have experienced sexual harassment, because this is often couched mostly as a problem that women experience.
That's true. It is often spoken about as a matter for women, but it's important that all policy that comes through the Parliament and all the strategies that are put together to deal with any problem work well for everybody. And in circumstances where we know that men are, while not the majority of victims of this kind of behaviour, they still experience it. And it's never okay, whether it's perpetrated on a male or a woman. So making sure that we're helping everybody through this process is the goal.